Hello viewers, welcome to this lecture on environmental sociology, and today's topic is movement against urbanization. The different objectives of today's lecture are to understand the definition of urbanization, to understand the different problems associated with urbanization, to know about the different pollution related movements all over the world. That is, urbanization will result in pollution and the movement will be against pollution. And also to have a brief idea about the global sociological movements. So, urbanization is the increase in the population of people living in towns and cities. And it occurs because people move from rural areas to urban areas. And that will result in overcrowding. And it is more in developing world. But though we also see that by 2050, 64% of the developing world and 86% of the developed world will be thoroughly urbanized. And definitely, urbanization will create enormous social, economic, and environmental changes, which will provide an opportunity for sustainability and the potential to use resources more efficiently. And that is a challenge to human beings in the developed and the developing world. So the different problems associated with urbanization include overcrowding and urban sprawl. There will be different problems associated, like crimes will increase, there will be more trash disposal, there will be sewerage problem because of enormous pressure of population, and at the same time there will be more water, air or noise pollution. There can be transport problem, road and transport, they are hand in hand, so there will be also roadway problem, there will be more slums and there will be human settlement. And above everything, if the number of people increases, naturally the job opportunity will be lesser, so there will be jobless people and there will be housing problem for them. Urbanization in India is also a major problem. The basic problems will include the lopsided urbanization, faulty urban planning, because the cities will grow and without any plan it will house different people. There will be inadequate housing facilities and there will be slums created, and that will result in environmental degradation. And there will be enormous effect on the society also, and that include regional inequality. There will be more traffic snarl, there will be garbage and sewerage problems, and above everything there can be disruption in water supply. But urbanization is growing, all over the world it is growing, and as the urban people are increasing their settlement, they get into the natural habitat of animals. So they will get or encroached into the wild habitat of animals, and there will be zoonotic diseases. And these zoonotic diseases will include tuberculosis, anthrax, plague, salmonellosis, and there will be more infection in the different livestock. So these problems are associated with urban settlement increase. Of course, there will be also some chronic diseases, and these chronic diseases are actually due to urbanization and will include hypertension, will include ischemic diseases, cerebrovascular diseases, gastroenteritis, or sometimes it is having low back pain, arthritis, diabetes. All these problems will grow in urban people. And above everything, because people are habituated in sitting posture mostly, they are doing their job in sitting posture, there will be obesity because lack of exercise will be there. And as the basal index, that is the metabolic index, is gradually going up, there will be obesity. And this BMI, which is around 30 to 35, will actually show obesity or hyperobesity. And there will be associated problems along with obesity. Along with that, there will be disruption in the environment due to pollution. The pollution will be more carbon dioxide, more global warming, deposition of excess of pollutants in the soil, in the water, in the air. And above everything, there will be some disruption caused by microplastic or plastic. Plastic pollution is the menace, and if you don't stop it, it will go on increasing, particularly in urban condition. At the same time, noise is causing a menace, and this noise pollution is actually making people partially deaf. There will be also light-related problem. Too much ultraviolet radiation or reflection will cause problems like skin cancer. Another problem is cooling. People want to enjoy a particular life where everything is air-conditioned. But these air-conditioned machines actually will liberate carbon dioxide, or the cooling towers will liberate hot water, and that will lead to global warming, that will lead to thermal pollution. And if this elevated temperature, water at elevated temperature is released into the nearby ponds, water bodies and river, that will destroy or disrupt the friendly organisms or kill the fishes, and that will ultimately result in food scarcity. Similarly, in India also, we see the menace of urban pollution, and that will include increased sewage, and thereby the biological oxygen demand will increase. There will be more exhaust, which contains carbon dioxide and other freons. There will be more household and factory waste, and often they are not properly treated or disposed in a planned way, and there will be improper food waste or wanton disposal, which will cause enormous increase in pathogenic bacterial population. Now let us come to one particular quiz. The following value of BMI is considered to be the limit for obesity. The options are 18, 20, 25, 30. And the right answer is what you have thought, that is D, or 30. Now let us get into some movements associated with the problems of urbanization. Primarily, these movements, as I said, is against the pollution. Increasing menace of pollution will result in different types of movement, and many of these movements are against pollution or to restore the biodiversity. The second type of movements is definitely associated with social upliftment, or we call it sociological movement. We will discuss these particular movements from country to country. We start with North America, that is USA and Canada. Of course, these are certain movements which are targeted towards the event of urbanization or pollution due to urbanization. Like in 1832, the biodiversity conservation of hot spring was carried out by the government of United States in the form of hot spring reservation. Similarly, in 1949, the United Nations Conference on the Conservation and Utilization of Resources was there. Mainly, it was resource conservation. And by conserving the resource, you can actually reduce the number of waste products or pollutants and thereby make the environment better in urban condition. In 1970, the famous First Earth Day was celebrated on 22nd of April, and it was actually protection to planet Earth. And almost 10 million people all over the country, all over the United States participated for a better air or better environment in the urban cities of United States. The Environment Protection Agency, this was established in 1970, and this is an independent executive agency of the United States federal government. And this was established on July 9th, 1970, and operation started from December 2nd, 1970, and of course the founder was Richard Nixon, the then US President, and it was initiated in Washington DC, United States. And what did they do? Basically, they were against the use of DDT and banning of DDT, cleaning up of the toxic waste in the ozone layer and protecting it, and increased recycling of the toxic waste in the urban condition. And of course, there are certain achievements of this particular United States EPA, which include cleaner air, pure water, and better protected land. Then we come to the Green Peace. The Green Peace is another great movement initiated in Canada in 1971 by Irving Stowe and Dorothy Stowe. And actually they were immigrant environmental activists from the United States. As I have already said, this was initiated in Vancouver in Canada, and then it was shifted to Amsterdam and Netherlands, where the headquarters is also there. And it is quite evident from this particular figure, the global picture, all over the world, the Greenpeace is having their branches. And it includes the Greenpeace USA, Greenpeace India, or Greenpeace Brazil, all over the world. Greenpeace Canada is of course there. And we can see only in the Middle East and certain countries of North Africa and Central Africa, Greenpeace doesn't exist. Otherwise, it is existent all over the world. And of course, parts of China. And the Greenpeace, the major movement, is to ensure the ability of the earth to nurture life in all its diversity. And that will actually take care of climate change, deforestation due to urbanization, overfishing, commercial killing of whale, genetic engineering, and of course, anti-nuclear issues. So the issues are not only biological, but it takes care of the overall well-being of the people. There is another major movement which is called Earth First. Earth First was started in the southwestern United States of America in 1980. It was started by Foreman and Rosell. The members actually had a philosophy in deep ecology. And what is that? To conserve all species of animals and plants and their inherent right to exist. And the wilderness is protected irrespective of their harmfulness to human. And there are different types of protest against the unauthorized selling of timber, educational campaigns where there is student involvement, there is broad spectrum civil disobedience including tree sitting, road blockade and sabotage. And sabotage is often called by a unique term called ecotage by the Earth First member, and this is actually the first step towards eco-defense to conserve nature. Then in 2008 came the first National Cleanup Day. The World Cleanup Day traces its root back to 2008 when 50,000 people in Estonia were actually involved in cleaning up their entire country, and the entire operation continued for 5 hours. And it is a citizens' movement, and it was called Let's Do at that point of time. But gradually, it became global. And there were millions of people involved in this movement, and this environment volunteers was also there in United States of America in 2018, and they call it First World Cleanup Day. And the major aim for this particular movement was to engage people across the globe to collect the waste, and thereby it became a very big waste collection day for all over the world on 15th of September 2018, where 18 million people across 157 countries were involved in waste collection. Similarly, on 21st September, the same movement was carried out on 2019, where 21 million people were involved in 180 countries for waste collection. At the same time, United Nations is also taking serious action for environment conservation to provide better life for the urbanites. And that was in the form of the Earth Summit in 1992. And this Earth Summit resulted in Agenda 21, which is actually the Rio Declaration. That is the statement of principles and sustainable management of forests, so that in no way urbanization will destroy the forest. And at the same time, the UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, was passed. There was Convention of Biological Diversity and Commission on Sustainable Development. Everything was for the conservation of environment, and directly or indirectly it was against urbanization. Of course, the fallout of this Earth Summit was in 1997, when 192 countries all over the world were against the emission of the greenhouse gases, which include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride. And it was stated that this particular movement will reduce the carbon emission by 5.2% and bring it down to the 1990 level. But this particular movement was not that much successful because of the fact that the globalization people actually didn't want to follow this reduction of carbon dioxide, stating that it is against industrial development. So many of these countries like China, like United States, they really didn't follow this Kyoto Protocol perfectly. So carbon dioxide or other greenhouse emission didn't stop totally. And of course, the condition in the cities became worst. Now let us consider different movements of South America. Now there are 10 different countries: Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Venezuela, and Suriname, Peru, and Guyana Francaise. All these countries, they have specific areas of forest coming under the Amazon basin. So the Amazon conserved area and also the area of indigenous territory, they vary. Most of these countries are now working towards the conservation of this forest, and that will be definitely by reducing urbanization or reducing the grassland, because this is actually the lung of the entire world. If we consider Europe, immediately the name that comes up is Global Green. The Global Green is an international network of political parties and movement, initiated in 2001 April, having its headquarters in Brussels, Belgium. And the majority of these parties had some common agenda, which include participatory democracy, nonviolence, social justice, sustainability, respect for diversity, and ecological wisdom. And based on these ideas, there was definitely involved of the green parties all over Europe. And if we consider the 10 different countries of Europe, the Green Party has actually increased from mere 1% to almost 15% in Luxembourg. So that definitely indicate the political parties are actually moving towards greener pasture. And this has a tremendous impact in the gradual reduction of the 2.5 microgram suspended particulate matter. So that means that the air quality is definitely improving in Europe. If we come to Asia, let us consider the Middle East countries. And this is involved in small-scale, informal, localized activists or activism against the urbanization or pollution through lobbying or definitely media outreach or direct action. But ultimately, there has been stringent action taken against the polluting firms and the non-responsive officials. If we consider the South Korea, the Korean Federation for Environmental Movement is actually a civic environmental organization which is playing a leading role in peace, ecology, and participation of harmony with nature. China is actually controlled by the government fists. But even in China, there has been almost 63% reduction in air pollution between 2013 and 2021, which is a positive sign. And taking cue from that, China has also stopped importing different solid waste like plastic, metal, textile, paper, and wooden in order to reduce the waste. So that means China is also showing some sort of improvement in terms of soil pollution and air pollution. Coming to India, there has been a great movement against this Bhopal gas tragedy in 1984 under the leadership of Abdul Jabbar against this methyl isocyanate which was released by the Union Carbide plant in Bhopal, resulting in the death of almost 2,259 people and ultimately affecting 7 lakhs of people. But this movement didn't provide perfect justice to the residents of Bhopal, but definitely it is an eye-opener for all. The Clean Air India movement or claim is definitely a specific movement by Blue Air Foundation in 2015. This was actually under the leadership of Vijay Kannan, and this was initiated from Delhi, and it ensures better air quality in the urban cities of India. This is also a unique movement initiated in 2019 that is called Jhola Andolan, which is mostly carried out in the social media, but it actually indicates stopping of plastic bag use and use of jute bag or other environmental degradable products. The bags should be degraded, and this is how this particular Jhola Andolan is becoming popular even today. Now let us discuss some sort of social movement which is carried out all over the globe. There are some specific objectives. What is that? Control of pollution. Pollution, population and environment, these 3 P's are there. If we control population, then poverty and pollution will automatically be controlled. There will be also special reforms and revolutionary movement and promotion of self-help group for the betterment of people in the urban condition. And of course, the social movement is also for the access of resources for all. These social movements will go through a life cycle of 4 stages. What is that? Emergence, coalescence, bureaucratization, and decline. But it will decline, but at the same time will better the living place of people, particularly in urban condition. Let us come to the next quiz. That is, the Kyoto Protocol is dated back to 1987, 1992, 1997 and 2002. And the correct answer is C, that is 1997. In this particular lecture, we have actually discussed the definition of urbanization, the different problems of urbanization starting from diseases, chronic diseases, zoonotic diseases, and the problems of pollution. And in the same way, I have discussed different movements aimed towards pollution prevention due to urbanization all over the globe, starting from the developed world and also to the developing world. And of course, towards the end, I have also discussed the major facets of social movement and how it is involved in the betterment of urban life.